Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 3689BN. Today's date is July 21st, 2025, and the title of the episode is, When Do You Attack the King? Nobody is above the law. All roads lead to Obama. Checkmate. Let's talk about our health. The science is in. A clinical trial found that just 10 grams of collagen a day for 8 weeks led to a roughly 20% increase in skin hydration and a 17% improvement in elasticity, while also visibly reducing wrinkle depth. If you want to help improve your skin health, it's clear that collagen is essential. This is why I use the secret magical powder, and I'm obsessed with the results. Multi-collagen provides my skin with 5 types of premium collagen to help attack wrinkles from every angle. I'm seeing smoother skin, more elasticity, fewer lines, and more youthful glow. Plus, multi-collagen mixes smoothly with my morning coffee or tea. There's no clumping and zero added flavor. Do yourself a big favor and grab yourself a bag of ageless multi-collagen now for 51% off only at healthwithx22.com. Plus, by ordering today, you'll also receive free VIP life health and fitness coaching for life and a free ebook titled The 14 Foods for Amazing Skin, a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, and free shipping with your order. Once again, this offer is only available at healthwithx22.com. That's healthwithx22.com, or just click the link in the description. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, big tech fake news, the puppet masters, you can see they are now in a deep panic because Trump now is actually declassifying all the information. I don't mean him personally. Yes, he has his other directors in the different agencies. They are declassifying the information, and they're proving that he was right all along, that there was a coup against him during 2016, 2017, all the way up to now. Remember, they started the insurgency when Obama came into office. They started the insurrection against this country in 2020. They started the coup against Trump in 2016, and they've continually moved forward with their agenda. They have not stopped. So everything that they have done, the spying, the Alpha Bank hoax, the indictments, the impeachments, the assassination attempt, it's the same people, it's the same insurgency, it's the same insurrection, and they've just continued it. And Trump, he took every sling and arrow, he took everything from them, and he forced them into a position where he can use everything that they did to him against them. He even had them say that nobody was above the law, not even the president. Because again, all of this is going to work against them. And think about it. All the different lawsuits they get, is tax returns, everything else that they did, he is going to use it against the deep state players. And the people now, all the normies, as we would say, the normies, they're starting to learn what Obama was really doing. Remember how this game is played. It's an information war. Obama, Trump, it looks like they're doing nothing. It looks like they're not attacking each other. It looks like they're just saying, I don't know how this is happening. But in the background, the silent war is happening. And yes, Obama is in charge of the deep state side, and Trump is in charge of the white hat side, where he is now fighting for we the people. And everything is happening behind the scenes. And what's happening right now is the silent war is now coming out into the public realm. So everyone can see it, and everyone can see what they have done and how they did it. And this is going to show the people that we've had a tyrannical criminal syndicate government in our country for quite a while. And they have been trying to keep power. They've been trying to stop we the people from gaining power. That's what everyone is going to learn. And it's already begun. And think about it. When do you attack the king, the conductor of all of this? Do you do it in the beginning? Do you do it in the middle? Or do you wait to the end? Well, it looks like we're at the end right now. And Trump, he had all the D's and the fake news, everyone saying when they were going after him that nobody's above the law. Well, this is going to boomerang on them. And you have to remember, all roads lead to Obama. And it looks like Trump, he's moving his chess pieces, and it's checkmate. And we'll have to see what the deep state players do, because normally when they're in this type of situation, they make stupid moves. And that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to make really stupid moves. And we're going to see the panic like we've never seen before. Now, in the beginning, you could see what they're doing. They're trying to spin this. They're trying to say, oh, no, this is not true. That's not true. But again, as more and more of the actual paperwork comes out, the declassified information, people are going to start to realize that is true. And actually, if you go read Kash Patel's book, Government Gangsters, or see the movie, Government Gangsters, it explains it very, very well on how this was done. But we're going to learn, those people that don't know right now, that yes, we had individuals within our government that are completely and utterly treasonous against this country. And it's not just a handful of people like Obama, Brennan, Clapper, Clinton, Schiff, and many others. It's the fake news. They were also involved. Certain individuals within different agencies in the government were involved. Certain individuals around the country in certain positions in different states, prosecutors, judges, you name it. Those individuals that worked the elections, they were all involved because remember, it's the same people that have pushed this agenda against Trump and we the people. And the statute of limitations, they're not running out because remember, this whole conspiracy has never, ever ended. It's just a continuation. And if you look at all the different crimes that they have committed, well, looks like Trump and the Patriots, they got them on almost every single one of them. And this is why Trump allowed this to go on so long. Because number one, he had to wake up the people. Number two, he needed to make sure that we caught them over and over and over. Because remember, we have one chance to do this. We have to do it right. We have to do it by the rule of law. And you just can't say, okay, he spied on my campaign. Well, they probably would have wiggled out of that one. But if you take it and you show that they spied, that they created the Alpha Bank hoax, they created the Steele dossier, they manipulated all the intelligence, then they overthrew the United States government in 2020, then they had an insurrection on January 6th, then they pushed indictments against Trump, and they tried to assassinate him. Everyone starts to see how this was all done. And to make sure that they had control over the different politicians and different people in corporations and Hollywood, they had to blackmail them. So that's where Jeffrey Epstein comes in. Now, do I believe we're going to see all these pictures of Hillary Clinton having sex with children and Obama? I don't think so. But I think what we're going to learn from all of this is that they used these individuals that, you know, the human trafficking, child trafficking, they used them to blackmail all of these individuals, certain politicians, CEOs, certain individuals within Hollywood and in many other places. They used it to blackmail and keep control over all these individuals. And I do believe this is why the Epstein files have come out. Now, I do believe the Epstein files that the deep state created, the client list that they created, that was to trap Trump. Trump now is going to show how the blackmail was done. Because when you start to learn that this is one gigantic criminal syndicate, you're going to start to see that all these different pieces come together. And I do believe this is actually now forming the storm. Because again, when you bring in all these pieces and you start to show that, listen, it doesn't matter what crime it is, like the death of Seth Rich, well, it's the same people. Epstein, same people. Russian collusion, same people. Alpha Bank hoax, same people. Impeachment number 1, number 2, same people. The overthrow of the United States government in 2020, same people. It's always the same people. Actually, if we go back a little bit further, when Obama first came into office, it looks like that might have been an overthrow of the United States government, because I do believe what we're going to find out is that he was never a U.S. citizen and he could never, ever be president. And if you hide all that information and you keep it under wraps and you keep it so nobody understands or realizes that he could never be president, that is an overthrow of the United States government. So I do believe we're going to find all of this out, and everyone's going to realize it's always been the same people. And yes, there's thousands upon thousands of people that worked in the agencies, worked around in different states to actually push their agenda. And a lot of these people were either paid or they were forced to do these things because they were blackmailed, because they might have a little different fetishes, and doesn't mean they should get off the hook or anything like that, but you could see how the whole system works. And I do believe that is what we're going to find out. And Trump is letting everyone know that these people should be arrested. They should be put in a jail, because if we don't have accountability, nothing's going to change. And I do believe justice is definitely coming, and it's coming at us very, very quickly. And we're going to see this ramp up. Remember, we've been told drip, 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 then flood. Well, this information is getting out there. People got to digest it, and people are going to start to learn that everything that we've seen in the past, it's always been these people. Now, we're going to be talking a lot more about this a little bit later. But first, let's talk about what is happening with the Colbert show, because it looks like they've canceled Colbert, and the Writers Guild of America is urging New York State Attorney General Letitia James to investigate CBS owner Paramount over the cancellation of The Late Show. So this is going to be very, very interesting. I think they're going to find out that the ratings are down in the dumpers, and he really doesn't have that big of an audience, and he wasn't bringing enough money. And I do believe then you're going to see other shows, they're going to be canceled too. But let them go down this path. This should be very, very interesting. Now, the other thing that's really interesting, and now it really explains why we're seeing problems in air travel and problems at the airports and cancellations. Again, we're using an archaic system to run the entire air traffic control system. And we can see that Sean Duffy right now, he is now implementing a brand new system. But all of this was due to the fact, because of over many, many years, they just let it break down. But also during former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, it looks like he failed to replace outdated air traffic control systems while in office. Instead, they shelled out tens of billions of dollars on DEI agenda, and this is according to the Federal Spending Records and airline industry insiders. In one meeting, Buttigieg says that he doesn't want to upgrade the air traffic control system because he said that will allow more planes to fly, and this is not something that he's interested in. So basically, he kept everything the way it was. Instead, he spent $80 billion over 4 years on DEI. I think now this explains why we're having all of these problems. Because remember, during the Biden administration, it doesn't show up right at that moment. But as time goes on and you ignore all of these things and you divert the money to different locations, well, over time, what happens is you see the results later on. And I do believe when Trump came into office, this is when we're seeing the results. This has nothing to do with the Trump administration or anything like that. This has to do with the Biden administration and going way, way back to almost every single president, because they didn't take care of this. And especially in the Biden administration, you could see that they didn't want to even look at it. Actually, they didn't want us traveling by air whatsoever. This is why they didn't really care about that. And now you could see everything is being reversed. And you're going to see that air travel is going to become very, very efficient. And you can see that Trump and the Patriots, they're going to reverse everything that they put into place, especially all the security that they have at the airports. And we can see already that they're saying that people can now wear their shoes. And again, this was put all into place to basically give up your rights. This is why it was done. Slowly but surely, they were trying to chip away like, no, we'll keep you safe. All you got to do is this. And you remember, our founding fathers warned us of this. And you have to remember, all these terrorists, everything that you've seen around the country, most of it was driven by the CIA to push their policies, to get us to submit to what they wanted. And now Trump and the Patriots, they're reversing all of this. Just like Trump is reversing the football team names. And he wants to bring the Washington Redskins to D.C., and he wants them to change their name from the Commanders back to the Redskins. Actually, the Indian population actually wants this because they feel like this is an honor, and we're honoring their chief. So I do believe that most likely this will happen. But Trump, he put this out and said, my statement on the Washington Redskins has totally blown up, but only in a very positive way. I may put a restriction on them that if they don't change the name back to the original Washington Redskins and get rid of the ridiculous moniker Washington Commanders, I will make a deal for them to build a stadium in Washington. The team would be much more valuable and the deal would be more exciting for everyone. Cleveland should do the same with the Cleveland Indians. The owner of the Cleveland baseball team, Matt Dolan, who is very political, has lost 3 elections in a row because of that ridiculous name change. What he doesn't understand is that if he changed the name back to the Cleveland Indians, he might actually win an election. Indians are being treated very unfairly. Make Indians great again. Absolutely. And you can see that most likely they'll probably end up changing because, again, the country, they really loved the names that were already there. And the American Indian loved that we were honoring them. So the deep state players try to convince us that this was a bad thing. No, it's a very good thing. And we're going to see everything start to change, just like it's changing with Harvard. And Harvard, they're going to be in a tough situation because, once again, you have to remember that Harvard has been training generation after generation after generation. They've been training these individuals to actually hate America. They're against America. They're against the Constitution. This is what Harvard has been doing. And once again, you're going to see that the deep state players, they're going to try to fight back with everything they have. And of course, there are certain judges that are in place. And if it's tried in Massachusetts or a place where it's very, very blue and there's Obama judges or Biden judges or any other type of judge that is not on Trump's side or following the rule of law, actually, they're going to rule against Trump. But again, you know what's going to happen. They're going to appeal, and eventually Trump will win. The Constitution always wins in the end. But Trump, he put this out and he said the following. The Harvard case was just tried in Massachusetts before an Obama-appointed judge. She is a total disaster, which I say even before hearing her ruling. She has systematically taken over the various Harvard cases and is an automatic loss for the people of the country. Harvard has $52 billion sitting in the bank, and yet they are anti-Semitic, anti-Christian, anti-America. Much of this money comes from the USA, all to the detriment of the other schools, colleges, and institutions, and we are not going to allow this unfair situation to happen any longer. How did this Trump-hating judge get these cases? When she rules against us, we will immediately appeal and win. Also, the government will stop the practice of giving many billions of dollars to Harvard, much of which had been given without explanation. It is a long-time commitment to fairness and funding education, and the Trump administration will not stop until there is a victory. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Absolutely. And in the end, Trump is going to win, and we're going to see that Harvard is going to lose, and they will not get funding whatsoever. I do believe all these private colleges, they shouldn't be getting any type of funding or subsidies from the government. They should be on their own, just like every other business. This is ridiculous, and I think this has to stop. The government shouldn't be involved in any of this. But I do believe in the end we'll probably see that. But let's see how this all plays out. Now, the other thing that we could see is that the deep state players, they're trying to make it seem like all these illegals, they're just upstanding, people that want to come to this country. But every day that passes, we're starting to realize that no, these people are criminals. They're human traffickers, child traffickers. They are murderers. They're terrorists, you name it. And every day they prove us right. Homeland Security put this out and said, footage shows 2 assailants, one an illegal alien with criminal charges, ambushing and shooting a CBP officer yesterday in New York City. And you can see it as clear as day on video. And these people are very, very dangerous. Homeland Security says on the evening of July 19th, the U.S. Customs and a Border Protection officer was shot what looks like an attempted robbery. The officer, who was off duty at the time, is currently in the hospital in stable condition. One of the alleged perpetrators was an illegal alien with prior arrest for felony and second and third degree assault and an order of deportation. The New York Police Department is currently investigating the incident. And you can see the shootout that took place. And once again, these people are very, very dangerous. And now we have Tom Homan say, no, we're now going to up everything in the blue cities. We're going to push very, very hard. And there's no such thing as a sanctuary city. There's no such thing as a sanctuary state. And we're going to see the federal government, they're going to do their job in all these different cities. Yes, these mayors, the governors are all going to try to stop Trump and his team, but it's not going to work whatsoever. These people, they came into this country illegally. They broke the law, and now there are consequences. And no matter what they say, no matter what they do, they will be deported. Now, again, if these people want to come in, they can go to the port of entry. They can be vetted. We can check to see who they are, and we can see, are they going to contribute to this country? And I'm going to tell you right now, most of these people, they're not going to go to the port of entry because most of these people are criminals. And if they are vetted, everyone's going to find out that, oh, wait, this is a terrorist. Oh, wait, this is a murderer. Oh, wait, this is a pedophile. Oh, wait, this is someone from an insane asylum. People are going to find out that these people are not upstanding citizens. This is why the Biden administration didn't want to vet anyone, because if they were vetted, none of these people would have been let in. And once again, you can see this is why the D's are so panicked, because remember, this is their base. And that should tell you everything you need to know right there. But the other thing that's very interesting, and Data Republican points this out, she asked the question, ever wonder why European cities accept so many refugees? Well, she wrote a thread and she breaks it down, and she said the following. Today, I'm over my jet lag and processing the documents I scanned this week. Already, it's pretty shocking. The refugee influx into Europe began as a U.S. taxpayer-funded subsidy. The U.S. government literally paid European cities to take them in, using Soros-backed operations like ARC, American Refugee Committee, as the middleman. Yes, ARC, co-founded with money from the Soros Humanitarian Fund, was running programs directly for the U.S. government. It goes even deeper and darker than that. ARC handled all the logistics needed for IOM, including deciding refugee placements and schedules, at least at one point. Even today, there are plenty of financial incentives for European cities to take refugees. The following is a UN-backed initiative. Translation, U.S.-backed. So basically, the U.S. has been paying for everything. Now, where do you think Soros gets the money? It's not his money. He's not taking it out of his bank account. He's using the money that is laundered through the system, and it ends up in his organizations, his NGOs. So if you shut off the flow of money, what happens to Soros? What happens to his plan? It goes down the tubes. He will not be able to fund all of this. He's not going to be, remember, he's not using his money. They're using we the people's money. And we have to pay that money back with interest. So we're actually paying for everything that we're seeing. And this is why I do believe Trump and the Patriots, this is why they're going after the funding system. And it's not just the NGOs. It's not just USAID. The funding system is the Federal Reserve. Because remember, if you have an open-ended credit card and you can just borrow and there's no limit, that is the funding system. That's what created all of this. And Trump, he's prepared and ready to shut this down. Actually, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is already out there saying, listen, maybe we should review the Federal Reserve because I don't know what they really do. There's a lot of PhDs in there, but what do they actually do? Well, think about it. Their mandate is what? Keep inflation steady, which means make sure your currency doesn't devalue. Have they done a really great job on that? No, inflation's at 3,000%. So no, they haven't done that. And keep everyone employed. Well, how many recessions, how many depressions, what have we seen over the past? Their mandate, they're not keeping to it. And I do believe there's a lot of criminal activity within the Federal Reserve. So I do believe that is going to be shut down in the end. And once that is shut down in the end, everything that we have seen comes to a screeching halt. Soros can't operate. The WHO can't operate. The World Bank can't operate. The World Economic Forum can't operate. All these people that give these institutions funds, this will come to an end because it's not their funds that they're giving. All of this will come to a screeching halt. And I do believe that is what Trump is after, and that is exactly what he's doing. And you can see already he's shrinking the federal workforce. Now, does he have a lot more to go? Absolutely. But he's already shrunk the federal workforce by 22,100 in the D.C. area. So this is just the start. We have to shrink this by a lot more people. Because remember, I do believe what Trump is doing right now, he's now setting up the parallel system with tariffs, gold card, sale of energy, sale of technology. That system is building up currency externally, which is competing against the Federal Reserve. Soon it will be stronger than the Federal Reserve, and we will wean ourselves off of the Federal Reserve. We will no longer need to pay taxes to the Federal Reserve because Trump will use the external revenue to pay for that. We will no longer have to pay the interest because Trump will use the external revenue service. And once the Federal Reserve is not needed, once we don't have to borrow from it, it means they're at a weakened state because we're not dependent on them. And I do believe this is when Trump is going to make his move to actually remove the Federal Reserve, which is going to cut off all funding to Soros, to all the deep state players, and everything is going to all of a sudden shut down. It might take a little while, but they're going to run out of money and they will not be able to push their agenda. Just like what's happening out in Ukraine, which we'll be talking about in just a sec. But we can see what is happening right now. Trump now is pushing peace across the globe. And he's setting everything up to make sure that there is peace. Now, Ambassador Tom Barrack put this out and said, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara have agreed to ceasefire. And it looks like right now there's going to be a ceasefire in this area. But we'll have to see how this all plays out. It's going to be very, very interesting. Because, again, Trump is ending the endless wars. And I do believe Trump is sending a message to the Iranian government. Now, I do believe there's probably two governments running now in Iran. And I do believe he's sending a message to the government that is now competing with the Khamenei's government. And I do believe he's letting them know that, listen, you can continue with your nuclear program, but not just the way you were doing it before, but you can create other sites and we can move forward. This is what he put out on Truth. All three nuclear sites in Iran were completely destroyed and or obliterated. It would take years to bring them back into service, and if Iran wanted to do so, they'd be much better off starting anew in 3 different locations prior to those sites being obliterated, should they decide to do so. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And I do believe Trump, via back channels, most likely is working out a deal, and I wouldn't be surprised if the people of the country rise up against their government and take it over. I do believe Trump and the Patriots have set this in motion. And again, the United States is not going to go in there and have regime change. He wants the people of that country to do it on their own. But we'll have to see how this all plays out. Now, what's very interesting is that since Trump is no longer... Let's talk about our health. The science is in. A clinical trial found that just 10 grams of collagen a day for 8 weeks led to a roughly 20% increase in skin hydration and a 17% improvement in elasticity, while also visibly reducing wrinkle depth. If you want to help improve your skin health, it's clear that collagen is essential. This is why I use the Secret Magical Powder, and I'm obsessed with the results. Multi-collagen provides my skin with 5 types of premium collagen to help attack wrinkles from every angle. I'm seeing smoother skin, more elasticity, fewer lines, and more youthful glow. Plus, multi-collagen mixes smoothly with my morning coffee or tea. There's no clumping and zero added flavor. Do yourself a big favor and grab yourself a bag of ageless multi-collagen now for 51% off only at healthwithx22.com. Plus, by ordering today, you'll also receive free VIP life health and fitness coaching for life and a free ebook titled The 14 Foods for Amazing Skin, a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, and free shipping with your order. Once again, this offer is only available at healthwithx22.com. That's healthwithx22.com, or just click the link in the description. Giving Ukraine money like Biden did. He's no longer giving them weapons like Biden did. He's having NATO and the EU nations purchase the weapons, and if they decide to give the weapons to Ukraine, that is fine. But Trump is no longer giving Ukraine currency, which means Ukraine is in a bit of trouble because they don't have the funds they had before, and now NATO has to continually purchase the weapons. Now, is NATO going to charge Ukraine? Well, they're going to lose a lot of money very, very quickly. And it looks like Zelensky sees the writing on the wall. And now he's calling for peace, a ceasefire. And this is what he says. Everything must be done to achieve a ceasefire. And that Ukraine is ready to meet with Russia next week. No, I don't think Trump wants a ceasefire. He wants peace. So I do believe this pressure is going to be on Zelensky. And soon NATO and EU are going to say, listen, we just don't have the money to keep up with this. And we can't give you any money, not like the U.S. was giving. And I don't know what you're going to do. The other hand, you see Trump has given Putin 50 days. And once 50 days are up, you're going to see tariffs, and this is actually going to hurt Putin. So actually, this is going to bring both countries together. But I do believe he's really dealing with Zelensky, the deep state players, EU, certain individuals within NATO. I do believe he's putting a lot of pressure on them and forcing them to the negotiation table, because they're the ones who are continually telling Zelensky, no, keep fighting. No, don't stop. Because once this comes to an end, they're screwed, and they know it. Now, the other thing that we could see is that there was a critical security flaw in Microsoft's SharePoint software, and it has triggered widespread breaches affecting government agencies, businesses, and institutions across multiple continents. Melissa Hallman put this out and said, since attacks began around July 18th, 2025, hackers have compromised at least 85 servers spanning 29 organizations, stealing sensitive data and establishing persistent access points. The victim roster includes a concerning mix of high-value targets. U.S. federal agencies and multinational corporations have confirmed breaches alongside government entities across Europe, Asia, South America. Energy companies face potential disruption to critical infrastructure, while education institutions and telecommunication firms report unauthorized access. Security researchers describe the targeting as sophisticated, suggesting well-resourced attackers with broad strategic objectives rather than opportunistic criminals. The impacts extend far beyond typical data breaches. Attackers aren't simply stealing information. Now, that's very interesting that there's major cyber attack happening against Microsoft, which is affecting a lot of different countries, infrastructure. And I do believe the deep state players, I think their last attempt to regain control is most likely going to be some type of cyber attack. Now, once again, the timing of this, we're not sure. But think about what Trump is doing. He's removing the central bank. He's dismantling the deep state players. He's actually exposing the entire criminal syndicate, showing who's treasonous to this country. And it's not just going to be in this country. It's going to be worldwide. And once he gets to the point where you start to see who overthrew the United States government, this is going to be very damaging for the deep state players, which means they're going to want to most likely shut all this down and distract from all of this. So once again, as Trump shifts us away from the Federal Reserve System, as he exposes the deep state and the central bank, I do believe they might attempt some type of cyber attack. But I do believe Trump and the Patriots, they have countermeasures in place. And I do believe this is why Trump is working so hard to create the parallel economic system. This is why he's putting certain things into place to make sure that the deep state players cannot actually bring everything down and we have a total blackout and everything is shut down, the economy shut down. I do believe this time around is going to be very different. Remember, they did this via COVID. This time around, I do believe Trump and the Patriots, they have the leverage. Now, the deep state players are going to try. You might hear of certain things going down. You might see maybe communications go down for a little bit. You might see financial institutions saying, hey, listen, we're going to have to shut down right now because we don't know what's affected. Remember, with an invisible enemy, it's very easy to convince the public that it's much worse than it really is, or maybe that nothing's really happening and they're just telling us it's happening. But I do believe that in the end, Trump and the Patriots, they already have the countermeasures in place to actually shut down what they're trying to do. And this of course, is if they can get this off the ground. Do they have the ability to pull this off? Maybe, maybe not. We'll have to see. But I do believe Trump and the Patriots are ready for this, and I do believe we were already told about this. So yes, I do believe that they're prepared and ready for this. Now, we could see that since this happened, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has confirmed that they are now looking into Microsoft engineers in China who have access to Department of Defense systems. This comes after Chinese hackers Zhu Ziwei was arrested for stealing U.S. data on behalf of the CCP using Microsoft. So they're already on top of this, and I do believe they're going to be prepared and ready for all of this. And we'll have to see how this all plays out. Now, the other thing that we could see is that COVID was not just to depopulate, to make everyone sicker, to steal the elections, but it was also used by the criminal syndicate to launder money. Remember, it's not just the people in D.C., It's people everywhere because they launder out in different locations. And then, yes, they get kickbacks. And it looks like FBI Director Kash Patel is now shutting all of this down. This is what he put out. Stealing $250 million from hungry kids to buy mansions and luxury cars is as shameless as it gets. Proud of our FBI and FBI Minneapolis for exposing one of the worst frauds in Minnesota history and holding dozens accountable. Exploit the vulnerable, and we will bring you to justice. Absolutely. And Trump, he knows all too well how the deep state players create crime in their cities. Because you have to remember, the deep state players, the Ds, the criminals, they are their constituents. They use them for the riots. They use them to push their agenda. And again, we've seen in the past how the cashless bail works. Basically, these people are just set free and they're allowed right back onto the streets. This is how they keep their foot soldiers on the streets. Trump, he put this out and said, crime in America's cities started to significantly rise when they went to cashless bail. The worst criminals are flooding our streets and endangering even our great law enforcement officers. It is a complete disaster and must be ended immediately. And it's funny, you only see this type of crime when you look at the blue cities with this cashless bail, especially the cities that are sanctuary cities. And Trump is now calling on all these mayors and governors to end all of this. And I do believe the people are now going to have to force them to basically backtrack on all of this. Because again, if the people don't get involved, nothing is going to change. And we'll have to see how this all plays out. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is we can see the Ds, they are now losing their grip on certain offices. Basically, socialist Omar Fateh, he has now won the Democratic endorsement over the incumbent Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey. Now, you have to remember, Jacob Frey, what did he do? He took a knee for George Floyd. But you have to remember, the deep state players, they set everything in motion and they infiltrated this country. Remember, this is under Obama. And now what he would like, and this was, I do believe was his plan, is to have all the different mayors and maybe even the governors, most likely the governors, all of it. Because what are they doing? It's infiltration from within. So how do you infiltrate the country? You replace all the people at the lower level, then you go up to mayor, then you go up to governor. And once you have all the socialists in place, all the Islamists in place, you can basically reshape what America is. And you could see this is all part of Obama's plan. Charlie Kirk responded to this and said, Minnesota Democrats have endorsed Somali socialist Omar Fateh for Minneapolis mayor over incumbent mayor Jacob Frey. Frey let BLM destroy his city and sobbed over the coffin of George Floyd, all for nothing. You see, this was their plan all along. They weren't really with the Ds. They just wanted them to follow along. And eventually what they were going to do is they were going to replace them. Every single one of them. Just look at New York. Now look at Minnesota. This is going to spread across the country. This is their plan. Now, is it going to work? No, I think the people are going to wake up and they're going to push back very hard. Remember, most of the time, these people, they really can't get elected unless the elections are rigged. And if you look at the different states like Minnesota, you look at New York, they have a very rigged system. And I do believe this is going to be coming to an end very, very soon. Now, the other thing that we could see is that Trump, he wants Congress to stay in session. He doesn't want them to go on an August recess. And normally in August, when Congress goes on recess, the deep state players like to play. And this all of a sudden becomes a very hot month where they try to push a lot of false flags. Trump is letting everyone know that, you know something, you need to stay in session and we need to get people confirmed. This is what he put out on Truth. He said the following: hopefully the very talented John Thune, fresh off our many victories over the past 2 weeks, and indeed 6 months, will cancel August recess and long weekends in order to get my incredible nominees confirmed. We need them badly, and we definitely do. He needs to put all these people into place because eventually what's going to happen is once we win the House and the Senate, we're going to have to remove a lot of judges and put new judges in place and new people in different positions. So I do believe that's where all this is going, and Trump is going to be pushing very, very hard. This is no time to take a break. This is the time to move forward because we have the deep state players on the run. And Trump is gaining more and more leverage every single day. I do believe he has all the leverage. He just gets the people on his side, which means he has more and more leverage. Now, you could see that the fake news and a lot of the shills and those people on social media try to convince everyone that Trump is going to lose his base. They tried to split his base with the Epstein files. And basically what has happened now is Trump is just getting stronger and stronger every single day. And this is what he put out in regards to the entire Epstein hoax. My poll numbers within the Republican Party of MAGA have gone up significantly since the Jeffrey Epstein hoax was exposed by the radical left Democrats and just plain troublemakers. They have hit 90%, 92%, 93%, and 95% in various polls and are all Republican Party records. The general election numbers are my highest ever. People like strong borders and all of the many other things I have done. God bless America, MAGA, absolutely. And Trump was just warning us that the deep state players, they set traps up every step of the way. And the Epstein client list was a trap. Now, does this mean that Trump is not going to release information? No, he's going to release information. He's going to release information on Jeffrey Epstein. Now, it might not be what everybody wants, but this is testimony during a court hearing. Evidence was submitted. And I do believe this is just the first phase of putting this information out and actually giving out the true information. Now, do I believe there's another investigation going on? Absolutely. Trump, he put this out and said, I have asked the Justice Department to release all grand jury testimony with respect to Jeffrey Epstein, subject only to court approval. With that being said, and even if the court gave its full and unwavering approval, nothing will be good enough for the troublemakers and the radical left lunatics making the request. It will always be more, MAGA. And yes, they're going to continually push for more. So what Trump is going to do at a later date, he's going to give them additional information, but not from the deep state Epstein files. I do believe he's going to give it to them via the investigation that is going on. And I do believe it's happening with DHS. And remember, when they finish the investigation, where does that information go? It goes to the DOJ. And you can see that the Wall Street Journal, they are in trouble right now because they put out fake information. They said Trump wrote a letter, drew a ridiculous picture of a naked woman, and Trump never did any of these things. But they went ahead and they did it anyhow. And Trump is suing them. Trump, he put this out and he said, we have just filed a powerhouse lawsuit against everyone involved in publishing the false, malicious, defamatory fake news article in the useless rag that it is, the Wall Street Journal. This historic legal action is being brought against the so-called authors of the defamation, the now fully disgraced Wall Street Journal, as well as its corporate owners and affiliates, with Rupert Murdoch and Robert Thompson, whatever his role is, at the top of the list. We have proudly held to account ABC and George Stephanopoulos, CBS and 60 Minutes, the fake Pulitzer Prizes, and many others who deal in and push disgusting lies and even fraud to the American people. This lawsuit is filed not only on behalf of your favorite president, me, but also in order to continue standing up for all Americans who will no longer tolerate the abusive wrongdoings of the fake news media. I hope Rupert and his friends are looking forward to the many hours of depositions and testimonies they'll have to provide in this case. Thank you for your attention to this matter. We will make America great again. And this is going to be very, very interesting. Now, we know that most likely there's going to be a judge that is maybe Obama appointee or Bush or Clinton. Well, no, actually it is an Obama appointee. So basically what's going to happen is you're going to see that Trump probably will lose the first round. He'll have to appeal, and this will continue on for quite a while, but it will drag the Wall Street Journal through all of this, and they'll have to continually testify on all of it. And there will be discovery, which is going to be very, very interesting. So Trump's lawsuit against Murdoch and the Wall Street Journal is assigned to Obama's appointed judge, Darren Gales. So we'll have to see how this all plays out as we move forward. Now, the other thing that we could see is that Tulsi Gabbard, she has declassified information on the Russia collusion hoax, and she has now implicated Obama. Surprise, surprise, I don't think we are. I think we've always known that all roads lead to Obama, which they do. He is the conductor of everything that we are seeing today. Doesn't mean he's the only guy. There are people above him, but he's orchestrating all of this. And all the people below him that are part of the criminal syndicate, they lied under oath. Now, remember, going back a little bit in time, people were very angry and pissed off because nothing ever came about when they testified in front of Congress. But again, now what's happening, and think about it, the deep state players, they went ahead and they already set a precedent. You know, if you lie to Congress, guess what happens? And all of a sudden, we're starting to realize that all these people that testified, including Fauci, Comey, they all lied. Take a listen to what James Comey said to Congress under oath in 2017.
There should be no fuzz on this whatsoever. The Russians interfered in our election during the 2016 cycle. They did it with purpose. They did it with sophistication. They did it with overwhelming technical efforts. And it was an active measures campaign driven from the top of that government. There is no fuzz on that. It is a high confidence judgment of the entire intelligence community. And the members of this committee have seen the intelligence. It's not a close call. That happened. That's about as unfake as you can possibly get and is very, very serious, which is why it's so refreshing to see a bipartisan focus on that, because this is about America, not about any particular party.
So that was a hostile act by the Russian government against this country?
Yes, sir.
In that time frame, there were more than the DNC and the DCCC that were targets.
Correct. There was a massive effort to target government and non-governmental, near-governmental agencies like nonprofits.
What would be the estimate of how many entities out there the Russians specifically targeted in that time frame?
It's hundreds. I suppose it could be more than 1,000, but it's at least hundreds.
Remember, all of this is on record right now. And all these people, they lied to Congress over and over and over. And once again, this is all going to boomerang on them. And Trump, he's already setting up the narrative, letting everyone know who the criminals really are. Now, he's not saying, oh, look, this individual is a criminal because of Russia collusion. He's actually showing that they do other type of criminal activity, and this will build and build and build. And in the end, people will realize that, yeah, these people are just criminals. Trump, he put this out on Truth. He said the following: Adam Shifty Schiff is in big trouble. He falsified loan documents. He once said my son would go to prison on a scam that Schiff, along with other crooked Dems, illegally manufactured in order to stage an actual coup. My son did nothing wrong, knew nothing about the fictional story. It was an American tragedy. Now Shifty should pay the price of prison for a real crime, not one made up by the corrupt accusers. And Trump, he actually had the receipts. He actually shows the document where Adam Schiff signed it, and he lied. Adam Schiff is a thief, he says. He should be prosecuted just like they tried to prosecute me and everyone else. The only difference is we were totally innocent. It was all a giant hoax. And the crime that Shifty Schiff went ahead and did is not a hoax. Now, remember, we have Letitia James, we have Shifty Schiff. They're all doing the same exact thing. They projected what they did onto Trump. And like we said before, Tulsi Gabbard, she has released the Russia hoax documents, and the classified documents show that in September, December of 2016, multiple U.S. intelligence agencies assessed there was no credible evidence of Russia cyber operation aimed at altering vote tallies. Gabbard alleges that following a December 9, 2016 meeting at the White House, including Barack Obama, James Clapper, John Brennan, Susan Rice, James Comey, etc., a new intelligence product contradicted earlier assessments and was heavily leaked to outlets like the Washington Post. According to Gabbard, these actions were designed to undermine Trump's legitimacy, and she has officially described them as treasonous conspiracy. Gabbard states that she has transmitted over 100 pages of declassified memos, assessments, and emails, including whistleblower claims, to the DOJ for criminal referrals and potential prosecutions. Those pointed to include former DNI James Clapper, CIA Director John Brennan, FBI Director James Comey, plus Susan Rice, and many others. So basically, Obama manipulated the intelligence. We know Hillary Clinton was involved in this, and we know all these people were involved. Now, what's very interesting is that text and emails indicate Hillary Clinton campaign directly coordinated with Obama White House to launch the Trump-Russia hoax. Paul Sperry put this out and said, I'm told there are text emails indicating Hillary Clinton campaign aides directly coordinated with Obama White House, NSC, State Department, and intelligence community officials in an effort to dig up dirt tying Trump to Putin in July 2016. And since there was no dirt, they just created the dirt on their own. Clandestine says the following. Things are heating up. AG Bonnie just declassified OIG report to Congress via Grassley, showing that Comey and the Obama FBI intentionally ignored thumb drives during Hillary email investigation because they had emails on them from Obama, meaning the Russiagate hoax against Trump was not a one-off thing. This was a grand conspiracy, and the Obama intelligence community had their thumb on the scales of justice, all in an effort to cover up for not just Hillary, but Obama, meaning Obama's DOJ, FBI, CIA intentionally ignored evidence about Hillary and Obama. Meanwhile, they concocted fake intelligence in order to frame Trump and overturn the 2016 election, meaning Obama and his cabal wittingly interfered in the 2016 election and tried to ensure Hillary would win, meaning they never had any intention of the American people deciding who would be president, meaning that the Dems do not actually care about democracy and they are engaged in a treasonous conspiracy to subvert the will of the people. So basically, what did they try to do? They tried to overthrow the United States government in 2016. Since they couldn't overthrow the United States government, they tried to force Trump out of office. So let's see. They overthrew the government then, and I do believe Obama, when he came into the presidency, he actually overthrew the government with help of many others, because once again, he's not a citizen, and I do believe we're going to find that out. He overthrew the government back then, and that's when the insurgency began. That's when the entire operation began. Not saying there wasn't a deep state before this, but his operation began at that moment when they overthrew the United States government. Paul Sperry put this out and said, new docs reveals Lisa Monaco attended a high-level December 9, 2016 White House meeting ordered by Obama to cook up intel against Trump related to Russia, along with Mary McCord, Celeste Wallander, and Victoria Nuland. The meeting was held in the Situation Room with McCabe and Brennan. So think about it. These individuals, they just continually lied to Congress, lied to the people via the fake news, and they kept the lie going. So that is very, very interesting. Now, what's interesting about all this is, have we heard from the Democrats? Shouldn't they be saying something? Shouldn't they all saying this is not true? I mean, some of the individuals are out there saying we need to stop this, stop putting this information out there. But again, this is very, very hard to spin, and you can see they're trapped in all of this. Now, what's very interesting, the only thing that Dems are trying to do right now is they're trying to say that the Senate Intel report, shows that no, Russia was really involved. But you have to remember, this was all manufactured too. Paul Sperry put this out and said, with Obama's ICA imploding, Dems are turning to the bipartisan Senate Intel report to maintain the hoax, arguing it confirms the ICA. Just one problem. Its star witness was Lisa Monaco, Obama's partisan aide who attended the secret December 9, 2016 White House meeting, coordinating the sham ICA. So the whole thing is falling apart. And who else was involved in all this? Well, the D's needed what? The fake news. The fake news was in on it. They were being fed this information without doing any type of investigation. They knowingly just went along with it. Ezra Cohen said, do not forget that many in the media were willing participants in the Obama team conspiracy to illegally overthrow the democratically elected president of the United States. Warner says the list of 65 journalists WikiLeaks revealed accepted to conspire with the DNC and the Clinton campaign to influence and steal the 2016 U.S. presidential election. So all these individuals, they went along with this. But they did have a problem. Remember going back in time when we had Kleinsmith, when he went ahead and he doctored evidence because they were trying to cover up how they got the FISA warrants? Well, that was their first mistake. Not their only one, but one of their big ones, which was easily discovered. And that individual was actually caught in doing it. But you have to remember, the judiciary, They just pretty much gave him a slap on the wrist. Mike Davis put this out and said, an FBI attorney pled guilty to a felony for doctoring evidence and lying to the FISA court so the FBI could continue to illegally spy on President Trump and his campaign as part of the Russian collusion hoax. Crossfire Hurricane is the biggest scandal in American history. D.C. Obama Judge Jeb Boasberg, same Boasberg that's trying to stop Trump right now, who served on the FISA court, ignored the sentencing recommendation of imprisonment and gave FBI attorney Kevin Kleinsmith probation. This is when Jeb Boasberg destroyed his credibility. Don't let Jeb Boasberg fool anyone that he is somehow the guardian of the court's integrity. Jeb Boasberg is the Democrats' court jester. Boasberg, the clown. Now think about this. The deep state players had their judiciary in place, and they were always going to protect them. So when people say, we need arrests, we need trials now, let me ask you a simple question. How are you going to have trials with a corrupt system? We haven't finished cleaning it out yet. You really think these judges are going to have fair trials? And everyone go, oh, military. Well, I hate to say it, but these people are citizens. They're tried in a federal court unless they're made enemy combatants. And I don't believe Trump is prepared and ready to actually move in that direction, because I do believe he wants to follow the Constitution. He wants to follow the rule of law. Plus, we must clean up the judiciary. We must clean up everything. We just can't rely on the military tribunals. So I do believe Trump is going down this path. Now, once again, if he cannot clean it up and it's just too corrupt and he can't get any headway in cleaning it up because we didn't win the House, we didn't win the Senate, which I do believe we're going to win, yes, I do believe he will then take this plan and move towards military tribunals. But I do believe his intention is to get control of the House, get control of the Senate, and replace all these judges so we can bring these people to justice. And I do believe that is exactly what's going to happen. And think about it. They overthrew the United States government in 2020. Before that, they tried to overthrow the government in 2016. In 2024, they tried to overthrow the United States government once again, but it was too big to rig. MJ Truth Ultra put this out and said, we still have this matter to be revealed. As we discuss the implications of the auto pen and his cognitive decline and how all of Joe Biden's actions may be deemed null and void, what will happen if a past president was not born in America and his birth certificate was faked and they murdered people to cover it up? Now think about it. Biden, very, very easy to see. He didn't know what was going on. People were using the auto pen. He had no knowledge of what they were signing, which means everything's null and void. And then when we find out that the election was rigged and they overthrew the United States government and had an insurrection against the sitting president, everything that Biden has done will become null and void. Then take that, because people say, whoa, look at this. I can't believe what happened there. Go back a little bit in time. We go back to Obama then, because remember, he's the conductor of all this. What happens if it's brought out? Because right now, all his records are classified. I think they're in the presidential library, but I do believe Trump, the Patriots, actually have this evidence. What happens if we find out that Obama and others rigged the election, 2008? He was never a citizen of this country, and he overthrew the United States government and implemented his plan. Think about that for a second. Dwayne Cates, 001, put this out and said, what presidential immunity, may I ask? Was any of that special status provided to Donald Trump during his term as our duly elected 45th president? No. What if, and stay with me here, what if it is determined that not only was Joseph Biden's presidency illegitimate due to the rigged and stolen election of 2020 and the auto pen that covered for the fact that he was a dementia-ridden potato, but that the 8 years of Obama was also illegitimate, as he never met the constitutional requirements to be president, and the traitors who fronted him knew that all along. You mean pretty much the same people? Yeah, I do believe so. Let's go back to post 4098, May 4th, 2020. It's a picture of Obama. It says renegade. a person who deserts and betrays an organization, country, or set of principles. So why did Hussein, Barry Soweto, choose renegade as the United States Secret Service name? Renegade is traitor, turncoat. Barry Hussein Obama, parents were both fluent in Russian. Is Russian a common language to learn? Public career history, mom, dad. Public career history require Russian language as a prerequisite, CIA. Farm work takes special skills. So was he bred for this? Was he created for this? I do believe so. And then they overthrew the United States government. And when you look at this, remember, this is not just one thing. It's not just Russian collusion. These people overthrew the United States government more than once. And they've been having an insurgency since Obama came into office. And then they had an insurrection when they overthrew the United States government in 2020. It's all the same people. It's all connected. Brian Cates put this out and said, it's all connected to the original conspiracy. The same names keep turning up, funding and controlling, organizing, all of it. Clinton Servergate led to Spygate, which led to Flynnegate. Then there was Comey Memogate, followed by Ukraine Impeachment Gate, followed by Fedsurrection Gate, which included Pipe Bomb Gate, followed by Lawfare Gate, followed by Assassination Gate, followed by Trump getting ready to hang all of their asses. How long ago did they plot to blow Trump's head off? Twice? People need to cool their jets on the statute of limitation stuff. He said, I forgot to add FISA Gate, Dementia Gate, and everything else. So, yes, this is all connected. Everything. Mike Davis says, it's time to put in prison these wretched Obama, Biden, and Hillary hacks. Conspiracy against rights, 18 U.S. Code, Section 241. Nobody is above the law. And Blueprint, he was looking at certain things, at all the crimes, and decided to list them all out and started to realize there's a pattern here. This is what Blueprint put out on Truth. I just reorganized all the crimes below that do not have a U.S. statute of limitations into associated groupings. As I did, an incredible architectural pattern jumped out at me. Treason, espionage, sedition if tied to a capital offense, embezzlement of public funds, major fraud against financial institutions, murder, child sex crimes, terrorism, war crimes. Do you see it? It's literally every theater Q put millions of us over target on to dig, research, audit, and deploy for years to ignite the Great Awakening and fight our information war. Q's team's core campaign architecture are all the crimes they committed that do not have a statute of limitations. And if the conspiracy is continuing, it really means they don't have a statute of limitations right now because, remember, they have never stopped. So they have continued all of these crimes, which is very, very interesting. Trump has them exactly where he wants them. And remember, he didn't just get them on one crime. He got them on multiple crimes, which means this is the biggest sting operation the world has ever seen. Paul Sperry put this out and said, more declassified Russiagate docs set to drop this week, with, among other things, additional details about how Obama's dirty spooks hid how they used the dossier as evidence against Trump from not only the American people, but many of their own intelligence analysts. So when they raided Mar-a-Lago, do you think they were just looking for visitor logs, or do you think they were looking for the D-class Crossfire Hurricane docs? I think they were looking for that because they were panicking. Where did they go? Who has it? And they needed to get them back, which they didn't. And think about it. Everything that Trump has done from the beginning to now, taking all the slings and arrows, he pretty much set them all up. He set them up where now they've been repeating no one's above the law. He set them up where they set certain precedents. All of this can be used against the deep state players now. They are screwed. And it looks like the DOJ right now has now accepted the referral from Tulsi Gabbard. So now the DOJ is looking into this. And this reminds me of Post 4621, Remember on August 17, 2020, that we had this whole thing where it says placeholders, indictment tracking, non-civilian, civilian. And the first one was Kevin Kleinsmith, 11.3. So now we have to fill in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is going to be very, very interesting. Let's see how this all plays out. And remember, Trump, he got all of these people, even Obama, saying nobody's above the law, even the president. Take a listen to what Trump put out on Truth.
Especially the president, is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one is above the law.
Nobody is above the law.
No one is above the law.
Nobody is above the law.
No one 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 is above the law.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Other posts that are basically telling us that accountability is coming, justice is coming, retribution is coming. He put out a graphic that says the Shady Bunch. Samantha Power, they're all in orange jumpsuits. Looks like a mugshot. Susan Rice, Valerie Jarrett, James Clapper, James Comey, Obama, Brennan, you name it, they're there. And then he put another post out on Truth from Jared Marsh, and it says, until this happens, and it shows all these individuals in handcuffs, nothing will change. And that's absolutely right. We must have accountability. The people of this country must see that these individuals were treasonous, and everything they did was against the American people. This is the tyrannical government. This is the criminal syndicate. Let's go to post 4044, May 2nd, 2020. It says Spygate. There's Obama, Clapper, Brennan, McCabe, Comey. It says, never has a president left office to collude with others to impede the next sitting president of the United States of America. Down below, there's a Twitter link to Real Donald Trump, and it says, the Russia hoax is the biggest political scandal in American history. Treason. Let's see how it ends. Let's go to post 4834. This is October 8, 2020. It shows all these same people behind bars, including Hillary, Bill Clinton, you name it. Now that Russia collusion is a proven lie, when did the trials for treason begin? And when did this all begin? When did all of it begin? It began when Obama came into office. Post 3882, February 24, 2020. Insurgency is the organized use of subversion and violence to seize, nullify, or challenge political control of a region. The presidency of Barack Hussein Obama began at noon Eastern Standard Time on January 20th, 2009, when Barack Obama was inaugurated as the 44th president of the United States. What country was the true intended target? The U.S. And he began his insurgency back then, infiltration from within. And it continued on, and it's still happening right now. It turned into an insurrection on January 6th. But it's still happening. It has never ended. And the deep state players, they're still trying to fight. In the end, it's all going to fail. And yes, we're going to see justice. And I do believe Trump is moving his piece into a certain position that is checkmate against Obama, the king. He got rid of everyone else. Now he's going after him. And think about how much Trump has done in this first 6 months. What do you think he's going to accomplish in the next 3.5 years? This is what Trump put out. Wow, time flies. Today is the 6-month anniversary of my second term. Importantly, it's being hailed as one of the most consequential periods of any president. In other words, we got a lot of good and great things done, including ending numerous wars of countries not related to us, other than through trade and or in certain cases, friendship. 6 months is not a long time to have totally revived a major country. 1 year ago, our country was dead, with almost no hope of revival. Today, the USA is the hottest and most respected country anywhere in the world. Happy anniversary. Just think about it. Wait until the people of this country find out that this is actually his third term. Because remember, when they overthrew the United States government in 2020, he became the commander-in-chief. The military was activated. And that was his second term. Actually, he said this multiple times. And I just want to leave with this quote from Trump, and I think this explains everything that he's been doing. And this is what he put out on Truth. Winning is important, but survival is even more important. If you don't survive, you don't get to fight the next battle. And that's what Trump has been doing. He's been surviving every single thing they threw at him. So this way, he can move to the next battle. And what he's been doing, he's been trapping all these people. And soon, these people, they're going to be held accountable, and justice is going to be served. It might have taken some time, but when we look back in history, people are going to say, wow, in just 12 years, Trump was able to remove the tyrannical government without shedding blood, without wars, and he was able to shut down the Federal Reserve, dismantle the entire criminal syndicate, dismantle the deep state system across the world, and gave the power back to the people. In the grand scheme of things, it's not that long of a period of time. And I think when you look back in history, you're going to say, wow, he did that really fast. And actually, he spared us from a civil war, from another revolution. And he did it in a way where he woke up this country and he actually brought the country together. And I do believe that's exactly what's going to happen. In the end, the country is going to come together and the people are going to know who the true enemy is of this country. Why? Because the patriots are in control. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.